I'm so sorry. I completely forgot that it was Thursday today. I think this is the first time in. I can't actually remember when I started doing these streams, but I think it was half a year ago or something like that. And I don't think I've forgotten once. I know I think I missed once. Hey Jack, it was. It was a busy day. My the preschool was closed, so the kids didn't go to preschool. So I had to take parental leave today, and my fiance was working, but she didn't come home for dinner because she had to work longer. They had like a meeting at work, so it was actually just until I think she came home like around an hour ago, a little bit more, and then it just slipped my mind. I was sitting on the terrace and like, oh, what a beautiful evening, and I was just sitting there. I had my phone and I was watching something and then just put it away, and I was just sitting there drinking the tea and like, wow, this is an incredible evening. And then she came out, you know you have your thing tonight, right? I'm like, what? What's she talking about? Yeah, the meditation. I'm like, oh, crap. I forgot about it. So hey, Christian. Yeah, so I completely forgot about it. I can't believe it. That's never happened before. I think, yeah, like I said, I was just so busy with just taking care of kids, and my son, he got so sad when Mama wasn't there because she's always there. She usually comes home at one time, and she didn't. That's like 2 hours later. And then he was just crying and crying and crying. And then, you know, the only thing you want to take care of is, okay, just make sure he's okay. And then I was lying next to him, and then he was crying, Mama, Mama. And I got up, no, Papa, you lie here. And then I'm going to scream in your face and say, Mama. So she has to be there. So it was an intense day, but it was a really fun day. We made a chicken tree for the chickens, and we built a little bit in the garden and made milkshake and just had a fun time. Like, it's nice the kids are so big we can actually enjoy time with them. Hey Andres, Jack, you could always bore them to hell with Dhamma verses. Yeah, I think my daughter actually loves singing, and I think she would like the chants probably. I don't remember them, but we do sing a lot, but not Buddhist chants. That's something we don't do very often with them. But she would probably like them, actually. And the good news is that I still remember the first time, I think it was in February now that I think about it, when I was going to go online. So the first time I just put everything up and I started it. And I remember how I didn't quite know what to do. I hadn't told anyone. I just started a stream, and there were some people who came, and it didn't work the sound at first, and then okay, it was fun. Second time I sat for half an hour and I couldn't get it working. It was so difficult getting this set up, and like it was like 45 minutes before it actually got online. And now it's like, oh, I have to go, and then I just picked up my computer, I got up, I have everything set up, like the lights and everything. It takes me about, I could almost do it in between 5 and 10 minutes. So that's nice, because I want to get to the point where I can just go about my business as normally and then come here and have a lovely evening with my meditation friends. So that's good news. I like that. That's nice. I'm sorry though, I apologize for being late. As a Swedish person, I don't take that lightly. Swedish people are incredibly timely, and it's funny, you know, if you're going to someone for a party or for dinner, and say you're supposed to be there at 6. If you come at 6:15, that's like borderline rude. Like 6:30, that's too late. But you also can't come like 5 to 6 or 10 to 6 or half to 6. So Swedish people will sit in the car and they will wait until it's 6 o'clock. And then they'll go in, plus minus 5 or 10 minutes, but we're pretty precise with our times. So I apologize. I just missed it. Let's see. Are we going for a record? Are we going for a record? What kind of record? You mean a record with how many times I didn't miss it, or what do you mean? I have no problem if I would say something before. It's just that if I promise someone I'm going to be somewhere, It's a Swedish person. I mean, I think that's quite nice because Swedish people, you can usually trust them when they say something. This one says they're going to do something, generally they will do it. And if they're going to be somewhere at a certain time, generally, I mean, obviously not always. And I, for one, can promise that I have missed many appointments, and I've also disappointed a lot of people with not being able to do what I thought I would be able to do or something like that. So managing the gear. Yeah, I think that's almost a record. I think so, Jack. I'm very happy, at least. And it's nice to see, because it was one of those things that when you start out with this, I mean, for you sitting over there, everyone watching, it's just like, oh, it just turns it on and it looks okay. But people don't understand how much work it is to get all of this to set up, and like to get the microphone to sound okay and not just weird, and how to get everything streaming, and then you have the lags and the delays and stuff going upside down the image sometimes, and copyright strikes. I used to have I pay for a service where I can get image and sound, but I'm not allowed to use it when I stream, and then I got a copyright strike for that, so I had to take the sound away in the thing before. There's a lot of stuff to learn when you do this kind of thing, but I think it's fun. And for me, as I've said before many times, this is the most fun part of my YouTube presence, is actually hanging out here and meditating. So it doesn't feel like it's a big thing, and especially like you do the work up front, but once it got going, then it's kind of easy. How's the week been for everyone else? I hope you've had a good week since we spoke last time. See, I'm gonna prepare, since I am a little bit late already. I also do wonder what this concurrent viewers mean. I can see how many people are viewing, so it shows that there's 4 people, but then on the count it shows that all of a sudden it drops to 1 person and then back to 4 people. And I don't understand. Maybe people are dropping off, or I think it's just the stream information that is a bit wonky. I was thinking about the whole thing I've been talking about so much lately, how lately it's the only thing I talk about, like how we choose to feel good. How when you choose to feel good in a difficult situation, you actually go in and point at the sense of self, because the sense of self says like, hey, wait a minute, you can't feel good because all of this stuff is happening. So when I was lying in bed with my son, and I was lying next to him, and if I got up, he was screaming, yelling, Papa, lie here. When I lay down, he kept saying, Papa, Papa. And I said, Mama. I'm like, yes, Mama's jobba, she's working. Nej, Papa, Papa. Yes, to Mama. Yeah, Mama jobba. Nej. And this, when you had the same conversation 100 times, it's kind of like, okay, I get it. We're not going to get anywhere. And in that situation, I would have normally felt irritation or anger. But it was actually really fun, because I was sitting there and I could see his eyes that were so teary, and it was puffy like underneath, and he was really crying, he was really upset, he was really sad. And then I could see how can I enjoy now? And I think a better word than enjoy or to feel good or to feel happy is that what we're aiming for is to be in a good mood. Because that's a lower key to that, because we're not talking about that, woohoo, I'm happy, or really like, I'm enjoying this thing so much. It's more of you're just feeling like you're in a good mood. So I think a better thing to aim for is to see, can you feel like you're in a good mood even though shit is happening around you? And that is going to be difficult, but it does happen sometimes by itself when things get so overloaded that you just kind of let go of everything, because like I said, this is just ridiculous, and then you start laughing. I see Christian is saying it's been quite hot, but otherwise a nice week. Yes, we have absolutely insane weather here in Sweden as well. I think we had 29 degrees in the beginning of September, which is, I mean, it's completely wrong. It's not supposed to be this kind of weather now. I like it, it's very nice, but at the same time, there's a part of me thinking, okay, if we have 29 degrees in September, that's messed up. Like that, because that pushes out autumn and winter, and like all the crops and the leaves and the animals, they get messed up. We could have gone to the beach today, but there's no reason to feel bad because of that. If anything, we should try to do something about that. Like use a little bit less toilet paper when you're using the bathroom, or use your car a little bit less, or just take the bus instead. So we don't need to feel bad about it, but we should try to do something about it. I think that's a really good idea. Okay, I blabbered on enough. Let's sit. For those of you who are new, we start out with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where we say aloud 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can touch, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea is that we stop and come back to our senses to sense what we're actually seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, touching. And we're doing it without trying to what I call distort towards it. In other words, we're not trying to say, oh, I like that, I don't like this. Instead, we're just trying to see this is just colors, shapes, and texture, and shadows, and light, and fabric. And when we touch it, you can feel how it feels, but trying not to feel an aversion or craving, pushing and pulling towards it. So you can do it together with me. And I'll say it out aloud. If you can, say it out loud. If not, that's fine as well. The main thing is that you just stop and become aware of what you're seeing. So I see a glowing dome. I see a bulbous lamp. I see a standing lamp. And I see a very interesting chair. I think that was 4. Let's do 1 more. I see a pair of socks on the floor. After you've done what you can see, now we go on to 4 things that we can feel or touch. So I can feel the water in my mouth. I can feel the hairs on my leg. I can feel the wool of the sofa. And I can feel the metal of the microphone stand. After that, we take 3 things that we can hear. And is it here? Is it hearing? Yes, hearing. Sorry. So 3 things that you can hear. And take your time to find. It doesn't have to be the first thing that you can hear, but actually listen if there's some layers behind what you hear. I can hear the compressor of the air conditioner spinning up. I can hear my nostrils when I'm breathing. I can hear the air blowing from the air conditioner inside. I used to take 2 things that we can smell. Now it takes a little bit more concentration to be able to find our last 2 senses. I can smell some kind of sweetness. I can smell sweat. Finally, take 1 thing that we can taste. can taste water, like a bit brackish. As usual, you're welcome to simply continue sitting, or we'll have a little bit shorter question and answer today since, well, we started quite late. But if anyone has any thoughts or ideas that you've been thinking about, feel free to bring them up and we'll see what happens. Thank you, Jack. Feeling is mutual. That was a nice sitting. Sometimes sittings are nice, sometimes they are not so nice, and many times the sittings are not so nice are the ones that are the most useful, even though it seems difficult. Zoom is going out sometimes. Oh, I think it's refocusing. Could be that I'm sitting a little bit out of the light. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, now it goes out of focus. I see it. Maybe too dark. Strange. Hey, Catherine. Yeah, were you the one who... I saw someone just like 10 seconds before I started streaming. I saw someone drop and I thought, that might be Catherine, because Catherine's usually here. I'm happy to have you here now, though. I missed the start. I had completely forgotten that we had meditation today. I was sitting in the balcony at terrace and just enjoying the beautiful evening after a long day alone with the kids. And it just slipped my mind, so I forgot about it. Yeah, it could have been you. I thought about you and I thought that might be you. Any good books recently got your attention? I don't read spiritual books, actually. I used to read them a lot, but I found that there's... I call it intellectual pornography, where we tend to bring on all these ideas and concepts, and we try to understand things, and we give the mind food, and we try to figure things out. And that can be good if that's what you're trying to do, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be with my senses and be here and experiencing this world. And when you bring too many thoughts in, that's kind of... We were talking about how if you do this on your arm really hard for a long time and you stop, you're still going to have lots of sensations there. It's the same with the mind. If you throw lots of ideas and thoughts on your mind, then your mind is going to be spinning with those, and it's difficult to calm that down. So if I would read spiritual books, it would be something that I felt calmed me down. But I don't really feel that I don't see the point for me now. Since I'm not really looking for anything new, I'm just looking for experiencing more, and I do something that works for me, and yeah, I haven't really found any use for doing that. Doesn't mean you can't have any good benefits from reading books. I used to read books, not so much, especially the later part. I used to read them to get in a mood of feeling good, like I spoke before, because I got in that feeling mode, like, oh, this feels nice, rather than trying to figure out the universe when I read the book. I also found that what I did many times is that I would take, in the end, I took one book if I wanted to learn something, and then I really read that book. I might read that several times, instead of just reading through the book and trying to read as many books as possible or summarize them and get the details, but instead just reading the book and enjoying the book. I found that much better use of my time. What I'm reading right now is actually a book series called Hyperion, which is an old science fiction series, which is very well written. Especially the first book. I'm on the fourth book now. But the first book, they don't tell anything about the story. They just tell four people's story, and then they all point towards the same thing, and that comes up. And it has a lot to do with religion and the church. And I'm still reading on the fourth one, but a very, very well-written book, an interesting book series. Happy to be here. Hope you had a great week, Catherine. Yes, I did have a good week. Thank you. I grew up Catholic and never once read any part of the Bible. Oh, really? I've actually read the Bible. Once I read the Bible. When I was a teenager, I was in Jesus Christ Superstar, and I played Jesus, actually. And I wanted to get into the role, so I read the Bible, an old copy that I got from an old lady that I was living with. I don't remember much of it, but it's an interesting read, and it's a very important book to our society, so it's useful to have read it, and interesting. We were fed ideas and beliefs from Catholics. Yeah, I can understand. Hey, JVP. I have someone close to me whose mother was in a kind of a sect, I think you could call it, where it was more towards how Mormons live, like really the women should wear dresses and they should take care of the family and do certain things, and there were very weird things happening within the family, and I'm not going to go into the details, but when you have strong beliefs like that, weird things can happen. Any books were you obliged to read in the monastery that struck with you till today? Mostly the books I read were like on meditation, and most of the books I read were actually interpretations of older scriptures when I read them. I remember one called, what was that one? About the jhanas that I found interesting at that time. There's also another one, what's his name? An American who's a really talented meditator. Seems like an angry one though when he wrote the books. Daniel Ingram, a hardcore Dharma book, something like that. Interesting book. It talks a lot about, he also studied with the Mahasi tradition that I studied with to begin with, and he was very well accomplished there, and is able to describe all these things in very good detail, so I found that useful. But I also read, I can barely remember any of them now. There were so few books that I read. I just meditated most of the time, and then I would pick up random books and just read a little bit and then put them down, kind of. I don't consider information that useful for what we're trying to do here, because you don't really need that much information. I always had this idea that we believe that since we are so complicated and we are so special, for us to feel good and enjoy being alive, that has to be something really, really complicated. The solution to that has to be incredibly intricate and thought out and coming from another plane of existence almost. It can't just be something simple. So I always felt that we overcomplicate things because we need that to allow ourselves to feel good. It's how psychotherapy, where like Freudian therapy, they look into your past and they say, okay, you know what, the reason you're doing this behavior is because when you were a child, your father always told you when you left the house, you said, look out for strangers and make sure that you go directly home and never look at anyone. So now you're an introvert and you don't dare to talk to anyone. That's why you behave like that. And you're like, oh, I get it now. That's why I behave like that. I can let go of that behavior. And then you gave yourself a good enough excuse to let go of that. And there was probably lots of therapy to get to the point where you were allowed to let go of it, but you don't actually need all of that stuff. It's a choice. It's a difficult choice, and it's not always easy to do it, but enjoying being alive, enjoying being here, enjoying actually experiencing here, and not constantly being off in a fantasy or a constant dialogue where you're trying to figure out the min-maxing of how you're going to spend your time meditating, or what should I do, or how am I supposed to get to this next stage, or what happens after life, what happened before life. You're just stuck in your mind. You're missing now. And if you think about it, I always say this when I work with students and they say like, I need time to do this, I need to figure this stuff out. I always say that if you think about it, if you are ever going to become present in the experiencing here, and not be off in a thought and trying to figure something out, whenever you do that, it's going to be now. Because there can only be now. You can never do anything outside of now. It's just an infinitely short now that keeps on moving. So why wait until another now before you allow yourself before you allow yourself to feel well, to appreciate life, to enjoy being you, to just have a good time. Are you going to wait until the next now over here? Why not do it now? But then we need all these reasons because we're special. All of us are special snowflakes. And we have all these stories that tell us like, no, you can't be happy. You can't enjoy life because you're too short. Something I had when I was young, I'm too short. So then because of that, I had to, I felt inferior because of that. Or had all these other beliefs that I kind of made into, I can't enjoy being here now because I need to change this kind of. And it's not that you can't change that, but obviously if you're too short, there's not much we can do about that. I know you can kind of lengthen the legs, but that's kind of extreme. It seems kind of silly. So why not do it now? But that's too easy. It has to be something more complicated. So that's why I don't really recommend that many books. There's definitely some good books out there, but let's see. Enjoy the moment we are in now. Blink twice and you'll be 50. I'm 46. I can only blink once and I'll be 50. We actually spoke about this the other day. I'm like, holy, I'm almost 50 soon. And I mean, I don't feel 50. I feel like if I would get an age, I could just as well be 25. Not 20 because I was, just young then. Maybe 30 or something. But I do feel happier and I feel calmer and more at ease with the world than I have ever felt before in my life. And you can see that in people who grow older. When they come to the end of their lives, some people will have what I'm talking about, where they just accept things. Things don't need to happen. Things are the way they are, and it's fine. We don't need to fight with everything. And they just seem to be able to enjoy being alive. And I've always said that I hope that when I grow old, I have this image I used to at least have an image in my mind how I was sitting in the veranda and I was rocking a rocking chair, drinking some tea, or maybe Southern Comfort or something nice. And I was just sitting there and I was watching my grandkids play. And I was old and I was crooked and I was just enjoying feeling the wind on my skin and just sitting there seeing the grandkids play. And I hope that when I pass away, there will be something like that, just enjoying being there, just enjoying seeing things happening around me, people I care about. So it goes quickly, and I think that's, well, we are going to die anyway, so there's no point in fighting that. We should really enjoy while we can being alive, because it is a miracle. It's incredible. It's insane if you think about it. I was just, like I said, I was with my kids today, and my son who's 2 years old, and I was looking at his chubby little face. He's crying, and it's like, it's a person. He has a will, and he's going to grow up, and he's going to become a teenager and go through all the things you go through, and then become 20, and then find someone, and then like he'll create might do it earlier, whenever he does, and he'll create a family of his own, and he'll have children, and then one day he'll lie in bed with his little kid, and he'll like, oh, don't cry, like it's quite something that we create life like that. I'm not going to get philosophical like that, but anyways, no. The reason I don't feel too much for books is that I don't think you need that knowledge. I really think that all you need to do is just see that it's a choice to be in a good mood and to enjoy being you and to enjoy being here and to enjoy doing what you're doing. It's not always an easy choice, though. See, Catherine is saying, I spent the first half of my life wishing for time to move faster and how I wanted to slow down. Yes. Oh, I can recognize that. I remember it so well when you were younger, and like, oh, I wish I was a little bit older until I could do this. I can see my daughter, like she keeps saying, like, I'm going to be 6 years old next year. She's so excited. And I'd be like, yes, I'm going to be 47 years old next year. I'm so excited. But I think I used to have, I want to get older, then I wanted to get younger. And now I don't think about it so much. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me much. I mean, I just want to be healthy as much as I can and take care of my body. Jack, it usually takes a good amount of training to keep present moment for more than a few seconds. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think one of the most important things to be aware of, Jack, when we see this, how we're moving, is that things are different. At every single time, your whole constitution of your mind and body is going to be different. So I noticed that when I was meditating a lot, sometimes it was just super easy. I would walk around and I could just watch things and I could really be there. And like I said, for me, a pointer was always if I could see a tree and the bark on the tree looked incredible, then I was usually in a non-centric state. But sometimes it was just very easy. And then other times it didn't matter what I did. My mind was just everywhere and I was just suffering so much and I just couldn't get out of it. So then it's impossible to be in the present moment. So I think that we should look at the state we're in and not fight it too much. Sometimes you'll have a hard time, and then just accept that. Don't fight it. Like, just accept, now my mind is just all over the place and it's kind of tough. And then just try turning towards joy. There's some exercises you can do. I won't go into that now actually, but there are quite a few things you can work with. But just accept that your mind does not want to stay still now. And then other times, it's super easy. Just sit down. It's like, whoa, oh my goodness, I got such, like, that monkey is like, whoosh, is whipped into shape. It's working perfectly. It's just different. JVB, if I may understand your story, why did you decide to enter a Buddhist monastery even as an atheist? Were you not bothered by the religion concept of the monastery? Not really, no, because, or were you not an atheist when you entered the Buddhist monastery? I think I've always been an atheist. I've always looked for something. And when I say atheist, means that I don't subscribe to any major religion. But no, that wasn't really a problem for me, because I always saw Buddhism as the least religious religion out there, until I went to Sri Lanka and realized that it's a religion. It is a religion. You can't get away from that. At least it's practiced as a religion. I don't think it was really thought to be a religion to begin with. It's not what it was meant to be, but it's definitely become a religion. So I didn't have a problem with it. I left because I wanted to understand my mind. I wanted to understand why, after I had achieved all the things I thought I needed to achieve, I still wasn't content. I still wanted more. I couldn't find fulfillment or a sense of peacefulness or just enjoying being here. So that's why I left, and I didn't have a problem with that. I never looked for the religious parts of Buddhism. I looked for the meditation parts of Buddhism, which is why I'm also looking more towards, I don't talk much about Buddhist scriptures, but there's one called the Kalama Sutra, which says something along the lines of, don't believe something just because it makes sense to you. Don't believe something just because you experienced it once. Don't believe something just because the elderly in your tribe told you. And don't believe something just because you've heard it from the learned people in your tribe or something like that. Basically says you have to investigate everything. You can't just believe it because your Holy Scripture says something. You need to find out. And the whole thing behind that is something that I believe strongly in, that it doesn't matter what it says in those texts, because that's just texts that were written by someone, and it's their interpretation of their experiences. And whether it's true or not, I don't really know. But what I can see was that everyone I met when I was a Buddhist monk, they had not done what I was after, really. They were doing something else. They were being religious. They were being Buddhists, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to enjoy being just here, just the way things are. There were some people who really were touching on that, but that was not really the focus of Buddhism, unfortunately. Let's see. Christianus, thank you for this session. I have tinnitus, and it gets easier and easier not to fight it during the meditation. Nice. Yeah, tinnitus is an interesting thing to sit with, because there's two parts to all things like that. Same as chronic pain, kind of. Tinnitus is a bit easier because you can watch it easier. So I'll recommend you to do this when you sit. If you look at the tinnitus and you hear it, kind of, I don't know which ear you have it in, or if you have it in both. It's like a high-pitched sound, and then it's just a high-pitched sound. But then there's another part of that is you doing this. Oh, I don't want that sound, and you're pushing away from it. Very likely what's happening when you're sitting is that you're forced to look at this. You're forced to look at this because it's so in your face. So it's a very strong distortion that just comes up, and you're like, oh, I'm sitting with that the whole time. And when you look at that, you go around it, and then you just experience it from different angles, kind of. And eventually realize that you're the one doing the pushing towards that sound. The actual sound, that's just there. Like you can't really get away from that. But the distortion towards it, the pushing towards it, which is causing you the actual suffering, and that you can do something about. And if you learn to look at that and see what that is, you can also learn to let go of it. That's a lot what how mindfulness works, and why mindfulness is so good for chronic pain is because it helps you be okay with what is, and then you let go of the distortion. So yeah, that's there's a lot of good stuff you can look for there. Catherine, what was the name of that sutra again? The Kalama Sutra. Jack, can you write it? I'm sure you have it better than me in how to spell it. I think it's Kalama or Calma Sutra. It's an I used to have a small sign. I'll see if I can find it. It's the way I view Buddhism is that we have no idea what the Buddha said. Everything is gone, kind of. But we can find, like do you say the gist of things? The main theme, the theme of things. I think that might still be left, some of them. But the actual words and what actually happened, like we have no idea. Like that's just I think the oldest text that we have from Buddhism are 400 years after the Buddha passed away. And just try asking someone what happened on that party that they were at like a year ago. Well, not a party, let's say a festival they were at a year ago, and then ask them to remember what that person was saying, and then ask them 10 years later, and then 50 years later, and then have people die, like I don't know what the average age was, like 40, 50, so 10 generations, and then ask them what they said at that festival, with that really great teacher who was teaching stuff. And yeah, unless you believe in superpowers of monks, which after having been a monk I do not, then yeah, we're not going to really know what was actually said, except for maybe the main themes can still stay there. Let's see. Kesamuti. No, not Kesamuti. Kalama. Thanks, it sounds very interesting. Maybe it will help me undo the Catholic programming I do for sex. Yeah. I'll look it up until next time. Kesamuti is something else, I think, Jack. I see. It sounds like the monastery became too secluded for you, and perhaps the people in seem too out of touch with the present. I actually didn't stay in one center. I moved pretty much every 3 months. I never stayed longer than 3 months at one center during my 6 years. I went through a lot of centers where I just traveled around. So secluded for you. No, I didn't find it too secluded. It's, how should I say? Something happens when you meditate a lot. And when you do a lot of vipassana, what happens? You become very strict. Where like this, something comes up, you snap it, you stop it, just snip it off. And that was not what I was looking for. When I went to the more Theravadan intensive meditation centers, when I would go to Plum Village, which is a center which is more of Mahayana Zen Buddhism, like it's not Zen, but like towards that tradition. They work more with loving kindness and basically be good towards the world, and your actions are the most important. But they suffered so much when other people were suffering. So, I mean, they had a really nice atmosphere there, and they did a lot of good in the world, which I respect, and I think is a great goal to have. But they still had the idea that I need to do something to be okay, to feel fulfilled. So people just shifted that to something else. So I didn't find what I was looking for there. There were some people I came across that just, one monk in particular, he was like 85 or something like that. He was very old. He just smiled. And you could tell that like he had heard my story or whatever I said like 100,000 times before. And he was fine. And he was the abbot of a rather big meditation center that was in a country where they had Muslims, and they had fights with some of the, not synagogue. What do they call them? Yeah, there was some conflict with the other religions around him, not just Muslims but others as well. And you could, everyone said that he was just very calm with everything. He didn't get aggressive and just accepted other people's views, and it was a really great man. But for many, that's not what happens. They become Buddhist and then they start fighting for their belief being the right one and create more self. Okay. If you meditate too much, your brain resets to default settings. Maybe. Not too sure about that. Very nice seeing everyone tonight again. I apologize for completely missing that it was meditation tonight. And I'm happy that some of you came back anyway. I promise I'll do better next time. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye.